Welcome to Music Feeds. We're here with John from Disturbed.
How's it going?
Oh, I'm fantastic, my friend. How about you?
Good, good.
Your last day in Sydney, you're about to head up to Newcastle. Tell us, what are the rest of the plans for the tour, and how have you been enjoying it so far?
Well, we're about halfway through the leg of this is Music as a Weapon here in Australia and New Zealand. We still have 3 shows in New Zealand coming up, and then we have but before that, we're finishing out Australia playing Newcastle this evening and Brisbane.
Oh, fantastic. Because, I mean, you guys have been out here a few times now. You're finding sort of the response just gets better and better every time?
Well, let's put it this way. Not only is it getting better, the rooms are getting better. The fans, we've got 5 records worth of material, and it seems like the fans have really latched on to our entire catalog. I don't like to think that we're a band that's about a hit or two. Yeah. I feel like we're the kind of band that once you get into it, you get into the whole style of what we do and the whole message, that goes across, all the records. I feel like we've been real consistent with our outings. And what we give the fans. So I think it's easy for a fan who maybe hears, our new record's Asylum, and they hear like some song off Asylum, maybe it's the first time they've heard Disturbed, they heard, Another Way to Die, and then they get into the band, and then they go, well, what other records do they have? And I think it's easy to go back and listen to Indestructible and get into that, and then go back and listen to 10,000 Fists. They're different enough to where we always feel like we have new songs, but it's all in that same style, that heavy rock metal style, and then the messages that David puts down on paper are always very powerful as well, and I think the fans really bond with that. So what's happened is we keep coming over here, and it just gets bigger and bigger. In fact, when we were in Melbourne, the last time we were there, we played a place called Town Hall. Yeah. Great place. It was about 2,500, 3,000 people. On the way to Town Hall, we passed by an arena called Rod Laver Arena. Yeah, yeah. And we were looking at it just going, man, wouldn't it be great if someday we're able to come back and play there? Well, that's where we played, just a couple days ago. And it was a sold-out show. Sold out that whole arena out. So, yes, it's growing. It's getting big here. We can't ask it for anything better. Honestly, it's our favorite place to tour. And not just because the scenery's great, the people are great, but for us on a professional level, the fans are rabid, and that's the main, that's what it's all about, is connecting with the fans. And I feel like it's really happening for us here in Australia.
That's great to hear. 'Cause, I mean, I feel like in Australia especially, and the world over, sort of heavy rock, hard rock, metal, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it, as a genre, as a scene, it's just growing exponentially. I think we're seeing one of the few areas in the music industry we're really seeing sort of consistent profits and sort of growth and new bands.
I hope you're right. I hope that's right. That's what I grew up on. Yeah. Heavy rock and metal, and more on the powerful side of music. There's room for everybody, but it seems to me, and I have an opposite view of it. I feel like, heavy metal and rock, heavy metal in particular, sort of like the forgotten stepchildren of music. I don't feel like, that on the world stage that we necessarily have the presence that I would like to see. I mean, when you look at the Grammys, there's like one thing for Grammys: best hard rock heavy metal performance, best hard rock heavy metal record, and that's it. And they just combine it into one, and you can really subdivide it. When you look at hip hop, pop, country, they have many awards. Yeah. And it's
a lot of representation.
Not that a Grammy means anything to us. It's more important to us to connect with fans. But that as a kind of a yardstick, a way you can measure how industry perceives what we do. And I think the industry overall doesn't realize how powerful a force rock and metal are, especially in music today, where I don't think it's a big secret. Record labels are hurting. They're not making the profits they used to. They don't sell what they used to, and a lot of file sharing going on. A lot of people get their music for free, and so there's less music in the business now. And the thing is, though, it's like what you said. I think that heavy rock and metal are one of the few genres out there that has stayed competitive and hopefully is growing.
Well, see, I think the fact that you mentioned the fact that it might, I suppose, lack some sort of standing on an industry platform, I think that's what makes it sort of so consistently successful, because in the same way that the music might be maligned by the mainstream, I think that's the way a lot of the fans feel. I think we live in a society these days that's divided up into so many subgroups, and metal, I think through so many different factors about it, really resonates with those people because of the fact that it's often seen as, like you said, the ugly stepchild.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to this kind of music, when you discover it, you feel like it's yours.
Yeah.
You know, you own it. You know,
Something special, you know.
a lot of people, they say, you know, my brothers and sisters were listening to you know, Katy Perry or whatever, and then I discovered you guys, and I knew that was it. You know, and there is something about that, and the people who are into that music, they're into it more on a level of a lifestyle and less into it because they like a song or two and they think the show's going to be good, you know. And once again, nothing to take away from, you know, great artists like Katy Perry or Pink, you know, does great here. And there's a lot of those artists that are coming to Australia and they're doing well. But it's the lifestyle of heavy rock and metal that, you know, I think keeps people coming back and makes it more of a long-term, you know, thing for the fans.
There's an honesty in it as well, you know. It doesn't feel very prefabricated. It feels very sort of, you know, of itself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because, you know, when you listen to a band, most times that band wrote that song. And what makes that song special is the sound that the 4 or 5 musicians bring to the table. As opposed to, you know, a lot of the more pop or mainstream acts, you know, like a Pink, you know, she's got a lot of songwriters that she works with. Or,
team.
Yeah, and that send her stuff, and then she, you know, handpicks certain musicians for this and that track. And like when you read the track listings, it's all over the place. But when you read like the track listings on a rock band or a metal band, it's just those 4 guys. Bam, bam, bam. And that's where a lot of the honesty comes from, because what you're hearing on stage is the same chemistry that you heard in the studio that made you fall in love with the record.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I know with Disturbed specifically, you joined the band in 2004, am I right?
Yeah.
And so in that time, I mean, the band has just gone from strength to strength. Does success at all changed the motivation or the process, the way you approach the music, or is it still very much, you know, at the core of what it was when you came on board?
Nothing's changed. The way we write songs, none of it's changed. The songs start with Danny, you know, writing a cool riff, working out some grooves with Mikey, and then they bring in, you know, me to help. You know, I'll come in and do my bass lines and, you know, throw out a couple other ideas, and then David gets it, you know, after it's kind of put together a little bit in a demo stage, to where David can be inspired by it, and then he'll listen to it, and then whatever inspires him musically and lyrically, he'll start to, you know, put what he does on it. And that's the way it's always been, and that nothing has changed, you know. The only thing that's changed is that we have now more control over it than we ever had. The last 2 records, Indestructible and Asylum, were self-produced by the band, in particular Dan Donegan, our guitar player.
You know, I noticed that. I mean, what do you attribute that sort of level of consistency and approach to, though? I mean, is it just the personalities of the people in the band?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, honestly,